Good morning, everyone. How are you today? I hope that you are good. For today, my new lesson, I will explain about the physical changes. But let's just remind you something about the physical property of matter. Guys, maybe you highlighted the same thing that I highlighted. Thank you so much if you did it. If not, so please do it. Just the things that I highlighted, you are responsible to memorize them or to know about them. The first thing that we want to remember is the physical property. What is the physical property? Please be sure that I will ask all the things that I will explain in the videos. What is the physical property? The properties that can be observed or measured without changing an object. So as I gave an example of the eraser, I can say I can observe my eraser directly. I can see it and I can touch it. I can feel it, and also let's see that I can see the color. What is the color and what is the shape and how is the size? So the physical change, they are, let's say that the physical property, it means that I can observe it directly with my own eyes, right? So this is the physical property. As we say that some of the physical changes we can, some of the properties of physical change, we can change it, but the others we cannot change. What are the two physical properties that we can change? It is, as we said, it is mass and size, right? Even in this example, it gives, like, for example, apple. I will show you the same thing. For example, this apple, I'm gonna put it here. It's look like a little bit heavy, right? What about if I put two apple on the same balance? So it means that I change it the mass of the apple. So I can change the mass of the apple. What about the size? If I cut this apple into some pieces, it means that I change it the size of this apple. It means physical properties, I can change the mass and I can change the size, right? These are the physical properties that can be changed. What about the other physical properties that I cannot change it, like color? Okay, for example, can I change the color of this apple? Can I change it really? Maybe you're gonna say to me, yes, miss, like let's to use some highlighters, or let's to use some markers so I can change the color. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about if you can change the original color of the apple. Can you do it? No, you cannot do it. The original color of this apple, it's, let's say it's yellow, so you cannot change it, right? So it's just yellow. Okay. And the other is smell. So if you smell the apple, same thing, it has a special smell which is different from the other smells, right? You cannot change the smell. And the others, like attraction to magnet or melting and boiling point. Okay, about the melting, guys, I've got this ice. I can say to you, it is just water, like it's normal water, but when you're gonna put it in the freeze, when you put it inside of the freeze, so it will freeze, right? It will become like ices. So this is the physical property of the water that I cannot change it. Like I can put this one inside of the freeze and it will give me this shape of the ice, which is another property of the, or we can say another physical property of the matter. Okay. By the other things that we wanted to explain about is like texture. What is a texture actually? Texture is how the surface of a substance feels. For example, the substance might be rough or smooth. The same example that I gave it to you, it was eraser, and it was my something that I found it at home. It is this one. Like I can touch it and I can say to you, this is very, very rough. And but about this one is, oh sorry, this is very, very rough, right? And about this one is very smooth. Or by the another example is, this is very rough, but my book is really very, very soft, right? So this is another physical property that I can feel it. It is by touching. This one is rough and this one is look like very, very smooth, right? So this is, we can call it as a texture, is how the surface of a substance feels. For example, like what you're gonna say to me might be rough or smooth. You're gonna say to me, for example, the surface of a compound might be rough or it might be smooth, right? Okay, what was malleability and ductility? As I showed you in the picture, still I've got the picture is in my laptop that you can see it. this is this side, this one is malleability, and this one is ductility. So malleability, if we go back to the definition, malleability is the ability of a substance to bend, harm it into thin sheets or otherwise shape it without breaking. So if I can make it into some shapes of like sheet, I can call it as malleability. What about ductility? If you see both of them, they are metals. So metals, I can make that shape of any shape that I want. I can make it as a sheet. I can make it as a roll of the just like the let's say that just like a wire. So this is the properties of the metals, malleability and ductility. Okay. One more time, malleability is the ability of a substance to be bent, harm it into thin sheets, or otherwise shape it without breaking. So I can make any shapes of the, let's say that, any shapes of the metals without breaking. I can break it, but like it really needs a high pressure, high temperature, and it really needs a lot of the power. Okay, what about ductility? What is ductility? Is the ability of a substance to be pulled into thin thread without breaking. Same thing that I said, I can make it to become like such as a wire. So this is another property of the metals, malleability and ductility. Yeah. In here also they say that the opposite of malleable and ductile is brittle. Okay, but we didn't highlight it, so you just have to know that this is the opposite of malleability and ductility. Another property of physical property is density. What is density? Density is the amount of mass that fits in a given volume. Amount of mass that fits in a given volume. Guys, I said to you, like if I have let me say that if I have okay, I don't have I will show you this one from this one. Okay, if I have this one, yeah, this is the top of my pen, and a piece of paper that I can make it is in some of the that okay here it is the ability, okay, is the amount of mass that fits in a given volume. Amount of mass given in a fit volume. This is the volume and this is the mass, right? So I can put the mass inside of the volume. I can put my top pen inside of the volume. As I said, we use the volume only for the liquids, and the mass we can use it for solid. Not only solid, for example this one also. So if I put this one, this is, I can call it, it is the amount of mass that fits in a given volume, right? So this one, if I put this one, you will see the result later, as you saw it before in other videos, that what was happening in the differences when I put a paper and when I put a metal in the water. Okay, another property of the physical property is buoyancy. What is buoyancy? Is the ability, guys, just be with me please with this one. Buoyancy is the ability to float in liquid. So always remember, if something floats in the water, we're gonna say this is buoyancy. If it will sink, we will not say this is buoyancy. Yeah, for example this one, float, it means what, guys? Float, it means it will stay here, but sink, it means that it's gonna be at the bottom. Okay, let's see this one. I'm gonna put it inside of this one, so it sinks, right? So because this one is sink, we don't say this is buoyancy. What about the paper? Can I say this is buoyancy? Okay, I'm gonna put the paper, okay, here. You will see that the paper stays, right? Because it stays at the top, so we say that this one is floats in a pure water. So if it will float, we're gonna say this is buoyancy. If it will be like sink, we don't say this is buoyancy. Remember that, please. Okay, let's take it out. Okay, I'm gonna put this one here. Okay, so now we know that buoyancy is the ability to float in a liquid or rise in a gas. Remember that, float in a liquid. So we say that these are helium, air, wood, olive oil. Until here, all of them, they are floats in a water. We say that this is buoyancy. But about the others, we don't say it. Why? Because they sinks in the water. Anything sinks in the water like this, we don't say this is buoyancy. But only if they will float in water, we say this is buoyancy. Remember. Okay. This this video, it was only about the let's say that it's only about the previous videos that I explain it, that in a short way. I will be with you in the second video about the physical changes.